Hey you, welcome back to Uncensored. I'm Marien, your host from Yachts Mermaids, and today I have Chanel Marien, who is a former chief stew and now creator and leader of Virtual Yacht Assistance, right? Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
correct.
Welcome to the show, Chanel. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Marien. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So today we're gonna talk about a topic that I feel like it seems like we're talking a lot about because I talk a lot about it, but I know that is not talked enough about. And that is the topic of anxiety on board. Um, and obviously that ties in into mental health, right? And
Mhm.
what as I'm saying this, the first thing that comes up into my mind is like all the people that tell me, this is not an industry for the weak. This is an industry for the strong. And I always
Mhm.
think to myself when they tell me this, I'm like, dude, you don't have to be weak to have mental problems,
Yeah.
health, like you don't have to be, even if you're strong or you believe you're this strong, tough, MF, you really, you are, what's the word? Sub, sub, uh,
Subjected.
yeah,
Yeah.
to having anxiety, to having mental health stuff. And the more I think about it, they're probably even having it, they're probably even going through it, but they're just avoiding it and pushing it down and be like, yeah, I'm tough, this is how it is. So when I say all this, what comes up for you, Chanel?
I think the fact that I particularly struggled heavily in the yachting industry with it, but more so when I didn't know what I was suffering from. I think most people don't know how to identify anxiety struggles in general, what are the emotions that you feel, what are the thoughts that come up. And I mean, anxiety is not just mentally, it's also very much a physical reaction as well. At one point, I thought I had a brain tumor and was having a heart attack. And it was all just related to anxiety. And had I known what it was and what the symptoms were, I think I would have been able to better handle it. But, ultimately it ended up with me having to leave my job at that point in time because I was unfit to work. I wasn't aware of the support that was there. And I think a lot of people struggle with the fact that they don't know who to turn to speak about it because they feel, just like you mentioned, they feel really, really weak, and they feel they shouldn't feel like this because no one else feels like this. Yet there are many, many people who suffer from it on a daily
So
basis.
can you tell us a little bit about what are the symptoms that you have seen and that you have experienced when it comes down to anxiety, so people can
Um,
start,
yeah,
checking themselves. See, am I
yeah,
feeling?
I think I think the biggest misconception is most people put it down to, oh, I've worked really long hours, I've been really, really busy this season. So they put it down to fatigue, maybe stress, lack of sleep, whatever the case may be. But the majority of the symptoms, particularly that I face, because everybody, of course, experiences um, anxiety slightly differently, yet the principle and the symptoms are somewhat of the same, but it is a sense of overwhelm. And you are almost your biggest critic. You feel like you're consistently failing. There's this really bad negative talk in your own mind. And I think the one symptom that once you have that, it's almost an identifier to say, listen, you may need to speak, may need to speak to someone, is the fact that you struggle to get yourself out of that negative mind frame. When you are tired and you sleep, you can feel the next day, you can feel refreshed. When you go for a run sometimes and you're stressed, you feel better. But with anxiety, it's really difficult to get out of that negative thought process, that negative mind frame. And that, I think, is the key identifier in realizing that everything that you are doing to help yourself get out of this is not working. So maybe it's time to seek some assistance. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. And you know what, Marien, I literally discovered that too late in life. I'm 31 now, and for the first time ever, I reached out for help. And I can't tell you what a difference it has made.
So what is anxiety?
Anxiety, to be honest with you, I can't tell you the medical term. I can tell you the term in the way that I understand it and has helped me process what it really is. Anxiety is basically a mental, I don't like the word mental, but it is a state within yourself that is consistently, one negative thought can almost, like, it's like a tumbleweed, that one negative thought catches onto the next one, and it's just a consistent movement of negative thoughts, and that's where the struggle comes in and coming out of it. But ultimately, anxiety is a mental disorder. It's an imbalance of some degree.
Right. So, I mean, I have definitely, I know what anxiety feels like because I myself, like, I literally went through like depression and like, I'm talking like suicidal depression and like all this stuff. And I mean, probably anxiety seemed like nothing compared to what I went through. But I can tell you for sure that I even find myself on a daily basis, sometimes having a little bit of that anxiety of like feeling overwhelmed, and you're like, okay, like I'm feeling overwhelmed. And what I sometimes like, because a lot of people think, okay, you talk about negative thoughts, right? And sometimes these negative thoughts could be very deceiving, that you don't believe they're negative, like, so how can we, because there's extremes, right? Where you're like, okay, like I hate myself, or I'm just not good at my job, or like you said, I love the fact that you said that you're criticizing yourself all the time. You're never good enough, right? There's always something wrong. There's always something you can do better. Um, and that may not even be, for a lot of people, negative self-talk, because they're so used to that. And and other things, like for me, what I realized through my journey is that when I'm overwhelmed, when I'm feeling anxious, is because I'm not in the moment. I'm constantly thinking about the future. I'm constantly out there in a state of being in a place that doesn't exist, is yet to be created, and I'm not here where I am now. So obviously I'm feeling anxious about that. And because I cannot control the future, this is where the mind shatter comes in. It's like, oh, you should have done that, but maybe I don't know, like anything negative, it's like, oh, maybe you're not good to do that, or whatever, whatever it may be. So for me, anxiety really is not being present. But I know that could, and I feel like anxiety opens the door to depression and opens the door to a lot of other things. That is not
100%.
just anxiety and feeling overwhelmed. It's like, that is just like the door to a lot of other things. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, you're quite right in saying that anxiety does open, if it's not dealt with, if anxiety is not dealt with, which in 2 occasions in my life, when anxiety was at its worst, I slipped into depression, and then depression leads to suicidal thoughts, and then it just spirals out of control. So it's really difficult the thing is anxiety, sometimes nothing can cause it. There is no pinpointed reason for the way that you feel. I sometimes get an anxiety attack with a message just coming through my phone. And that's where the imbalance is. And unfortunately, I'm not very well versed in terms of the scientific reasoning behind it. I've just been able to learn techniques to be able to cope with it myself. But you're quite right in saying that it's not living in the present moment. And that's why in the yachting industry, when you're extremely busy programs where you're consistently having to achieve something at a specific set standard in a specific time frame, only to have to take over another job straight afterwards, it's really difficult to live in the moment. It's really difficult to be like, you know what, look where I am in the world. Let me go outside. Let me see, like, this is the reason I joined yachting. These are all the good things. You get so sucked up in your reality of what is expected of you that you forget why you're there in the first place. And losing touch with those two together And that's where anxiety sits in the middle. It helps you forget why you were there. And all you have to focus on is just this constant rat race. And it's really, really unhealthy, you know, ultimately at the end of the day.
What are some of the tools that you have been able to tap into to, you know, deal with it?
I think number one, realizing what I'm feeling at that present moment. If you can feel an imbalance. You can feel something is not right. Like there's a consistent, a repetitive thought process you're going through, something you feel inside. Like sometimes there's a pressure on my chest, a weight on my shoulders. It can be very physical. And some people put the physicality down to maybe something internally wrong with them rather than it being something like anxiety. But number one, identifying and being in that present moment, saying, this is really not how I should be feeling, specifically not often. So going, okay, so there's something not right now, and then taking a step back. So I've done breathing techniques. Meditation is part of my daily life. I can feel, if I don't meditate, what a difference it makes in my day. Like the concentration levels, the ability to focus and to be positive. That positivity that I manifest in my meditation is really, really vital. But at the same time, you need to set boundaries. You need to be able to, yes, do the work that you need to do. But when you get to a point where you literally just need 5 or 10 minutes to yourself, you need to be strong enough to tell the people that are around you, I just need a few minutes.
And I love the fact that you said the word strong, because, you know, we were talking about in the beginning how a lot of people say these are for the strong people only, you know, this industry is for the strong, not for the weak. And what I'm realizing is that it's not the strongest lifting, it's not the strongest of who can burn themselves the hardest. It's really who can have boundaries, who's strong enough to set those boundaries so they can actually have a sustainable career. You know, in yachting, we talk a lot about sustainability, especially lately with the environment and all that. And I tell people, sustainability starts with you.
Yes.
So if you don't have, you know, if you don't take the time to care for you, right? Because sustainability means that you're caring for the environment so it can actually sustain itself for longer than it is. That's the same way with you, right? You are your own environment. You have a complete environment within yourself. So really becoming strong enough to say, okay, I need to take time off. I need to go meditate. I need to just breathe and look at the view. You know,
like that's it. Yeah.
Exactly. No, totally.
Yeah, and it's having that. I mean, if you are able to be strong enough to say, listen, I just need this time, you're going to be a better version of yourself. And if you're a better version of yourself, you're doing a better job, you're a better person to be around, the program is functioning better. But I think the problem with that is with junior crew, new crew entering the industry. This is a completely foreign concept, a completely foreign industry. They are yet to wrap their head around, number one, what yachting is and what they need to do, never mind everything else that comes along with this. So, and of course, newbie yacht crew feel like they have to prove themselves. They have to push and push and push themselves to prove themselves. And in doing so, that's also where most of them say, you know what, this really isn't for me. Because number one, they don't know how to be strong for themselves, to say, listen, this is a lot to take on board. This is where I'm at. I know where I need to go, but this is what I need right now. Yeah. But they don't know this. The support on most boats, in fact, every boat that I've been on, you know, there was nothing regarding mental health. There was nothing regarding support of that. Even junior crew, I mean, they are the most vital because they're the most volatile. You know, they're still new and they're like sponges. They just want to absorb everything. And if we were giving them the tools to be able to cope better with their environment, then I think we would have a recipe for success at the end of the day, just starting from the foundation phase instead of trying to bring it in from the, of course, we need to bring it in from the top. We need to educate our captains. We need to educate our chief stews on to identify it, how to handle it.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there's been some really like awful stories in the industry about, you know, it not being handled properly or supported properly.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I
Yeah.
think like, you know, it has been handled the way that it always been handled, just not talked about.
Yeah.
And you basically, okay, well, you know, if you're suicidal, then you're gonna have to leave the boat. You know, if you can't cope
That's
with your
it.
anxiety, you're going to start declining your work performance, so you're gonna have to leave the boat. So it's almost like either you're in and you burn, and then you leave,
Yeah.
you know, or that's it. There's no really in between. And I think now lately, specifically in the past year or so, we're talking more about it, and we're giving the people tools, and there's more people out there, especially ex-yachties, that have been through that, like you, that you said, you know what, yes, I want to be of help to the community that at
Yeah.
some point gave me so much, you know, so I want to give back to them, and be that support system that you in fact didn't have, you know. um,
Yeah.
and a lot of us in the industry, we had ended up having to look outside of the
Mhm.
outside of the industry for help. But I think especially because yachties never really understood that they are seafarers,
Mhm.
and it's almost like a different race to
Yeah.
us, but really we're
Right.
not, we're the same. um, and there is a helpline, you know, it's called Seafarer Helpline, and this is what they do. It's 24/7, you know, different, over 7 languages. You can call them anytime, you can chat, you can email, but because it's called Seafarers, the helpline, yachties don't really even know about it because they don't even think about themselves as seafarers. So I love the fact that I literally just recorded a show with them because they're opening a helpline for yacht crew. Same thing,
Mhm.
just specifically for them, so they can be found. Because what they realized in their research was that yachties weren't finding them because they didn't consider themselves seafarers.
Yes,
So,
that's
which
very
is,
true.
you know, it is what it is. But I think it's really important to know that there is help out there, but you have to also be willing to look for it, right? And I think that it is our job to make sure that we spread the word of all the things that are available to people. And this is definitely what I'm doing, part of the Uncensored show, bring people like you, people like Seafarer Helpline, to make sure people know there is help out there, you know, like this is where you can find them. So what can you advise green crew that are wanting to jump full force into the yachting industry, so they can prevent anxiety and depression and maintain actual mental health while transitioning into the lifestyle of a yachting?
I think there's multiple things that Green Crew can do. Some of the things I know, there's not everybody journals, you know, but for those who do journal, it's a really great way of keeping track of your mental state. As you read back through your journal entries, you're able to kind of see how you've digressed and what's changed. That's definitely one way of doing it. And of course, noticing any particular change in terms of your thought processes. When you start identifying or feeling completely overwhelmed, there's a difference in when you suffer from anxiety. There's a difference between feeling sleep deprived, feeling exhausted, and anxiety. And so when you notice that, you know, you are tired, but it's not just that, speak to someone. You need to be able to speak to someone, even if it is a family member. A lot of crew feel like they don't want to speak to crew members on board because it's a sign of weakness. Why are they not coping as well as everybody else? But meanwhile, back at the ranch, you know, the chances are the person they're going to speak to does suffer from the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So have someone to speak to. And if it's not someone on board the boat, have someone that you can bounce ideas off, someone that is almost going to hold you accountable to report back to them, so that they can be like, listen, okay, I've been speaking to you for a few weeks now and you're not getting any better. I think we need to take another step. I think we need to look for another solution. Exercise is really important. I understand that we do need to work long hours, and I understand the demands upon all crew. It's just when you have a break, don't go sit on your phone. Don't do that. Like, do something for your mind. Do something where you're going to release some pent up energy. Exercise. Go for a run. Read a book. But something that is not going. I mean, I don't know if anybody has watched the Social. I think it's called Social Dilemma on Netflix.
Yeah.
Social something. Yes. So there we go. So that's my point. It's not good for our brains to be on our phone, on our computers, to be working. Your break is given to you for that specific reason, to shut down, to do something for yourself. And it's very important that people do that. Have a nap, whatever it is, whatever you think is going to make you feel better. And if what you're doing doesn't work, change it. Like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So whatever you're doing, if it's not working, change the game. And I also personally think that this is not in line with Green Crew, but having some sort of course awareness that gets taken from the top. So all the HODs being subjected to almost a compulsory course. It's a compulsory course that they need to do to help their crew. Because at I was an HOD myself, and none of us knew anything about it. I only knew about anxiety because I was going through it, and I was diagnosed in 2013. And so I had many, many years of researching and trying to figure it all out. But even myself, speaking about it, no one took me seriously because it just wasn't a spoken about topic. It just wasn't considered a serious thing. But it is extremely serious. I have my personal experiences, I have reacted in very odd and not proud ways, because I felt taboo. Chanel, what's wrong with you? Are you mentally ill? Like, are you listening to yourself? Like, these were the things. And because I was made to feel shame for what I was going through, I can only imagine some people being in a worse place than me and what they must be going through. So it really starts from the top down and making sure that the crew at the bottom and everyone just meets in the middle and everyone is on the same page with this, because it's becoming a real big problem in the industry. Like, incredibly to people on a daily basis that are just like, I don't know what to do or who to speak to. What if I leave my boat and go into another boat? But they leave the boat and you go into another boat expecting the boat you're joining to be aware. But the chances are they're probably not going to be. So a lot of crew end up just going like, this is not for me. Right. When after, actually it could be an industry for them that they could pursue into a long-term career, but they just feel really unsupported and unhealthy and weak.
And I agree with you. And I think, ideally that would be great to have people trained, and have some sort of understanding and tools to help the crew. But if you don't, and training is not a thing that you're going to do or willing to do, definitely having, like, for example, in the Yachts Mermaids website, in the support page, there is a to-go support crew PDF that you can download and you can stick it to the crew board. You may not know what to do, but you can definitely guide them and say, hey, I'm not sure what you're going through. I don't understand it myself because maybe I haven't been through it, but there's all these people available. Look at it, who resonates with you, give them a call. I'm here for you. Like, let's find somebody for you. We're not expecting HODs to be a psychologist, like, we get that. But it is your duty as a head of department to lead the way and to guide people to safety at the end of the day. And that may be you sending them and referring them to somebody else. But for you have to do the work to find out who it is that you need to refer these people to. And, just saying, hey, this is the support system that's available for yachties right now. It's on the board. Whoever needs help, please remember that the list is there. That's it. You don't have to make it a big deal. You don't have to, do anything except say, hey, that's here. And people in their own time, if they feel like they need the help, they'll find that list. They'll go and pick at it, do whatever they need to do. And I think as a head of department, talking and saying, hey, if anything, if you feel different from what you're used to feeling, I'm here for you. Let's talk. Being okay to having that communication, right? And like not expecting and assuming that people think, oh, because she's fun and she's nice, they're going to come and talk to you. No, it's not like that. You have to be willing to say, I'm here for you. Please talk to me. And if you're not, because you may not be willing to, that's okay. Then find somebody else on the crew that is willing to take that lead, because somewhere somebody will. So it's really important to set those boundaries yourself as well, because some people are just not that type of person. So if you're not willing to do that, then find somebody else that that has those skills, so they can be given that duty of like, hey, you're gonna be the one making sure everybody is in the right space. Like if they need to talk to, please make sure that they talk to you. Whatever it is, like we can figure this out. Like it's not that complicated. But I think it's a matter of willing to, like you said, do things differently. We can't continue to do the same shit we've been doing because it's just not working out.
It's not working. I think another thing an HOD could really zone in on, and all HODs, is when they identify a crew member veering away from their usual typical behavior or personality traits, characteristics, is approaching that crew member and being like, listen, hey, so I've noticed that you are a little bit more distant. You don't have to speak to me. I hope everything is okay. I'm here. If you don't want to speak to me, this is where this is that person you can speak to. But also taking a step towards that crew member, and also being aware of people changing, around you, because you're with them all the time. You are going to notice. You're going to notice a difference. And you're going to know, okay, this crew member is just tired. But if you're looking at a crew member for 6 months, you can't continuously say for 6 months, oh, he or she's just tired. Like, you can think for yourself. There is a drastic change, and there's a long enough time span to say, okay, so there's something seriously going on with this crew member right now. Maybe I should just speak to them.
And if it's you as a head of department going through that, ask for help.
That's it. But as when I was a chief stew, because I implemented that with my girls that I worked with, my girls and guys that I worked with, I got that back from them. They came to me and said, hey, Chanel, so like, I know you look extremely overwhelmed. Is there anything we can do for you? Are you okay? Do you need a break? But that environment was instilled because I did that for them, and they felt like it was good for them to do that for me.
Absolutely.
And I think if we all implemented that, it would be a beautiful cycle, because you're creating, ultimately living on a yacht, there's an ecosystem. And in this ecosystem, you are going to have, even on a boat, when you have one bad egg, they say you have one bad egg, that one bad egg can affect almost the entire crew.
Yeah.
But then when you have this beautiful, like, excited, enthusiastic, really positive person on board, that person can also completely change the ecosystem to be positive. So it really only starts with one person making one small change, and then it's like a domino effect. People are going to see that, like the interior team are they're in a really good role, and then they start speaking to the deck department, and it kind of like moves along in that beautiful, exactly like a negative system would work, the positive system works identically the same. But it starts with change happening, and it starts with it being positive and being implemented and carried, not just once, because a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, I've done that, but you've only done it once. You haven't instilled it. It's not a system in place.
Exactly.
So having a system, right?
Yeah, I think people need to start understanding, as a head of department, you're no longer just shammying until it's polished, like you're not longer cleaning until it's, shining. You're literally leading by example. You are in charge of people, and that also means their mental health, because the work performance is tied up to how they're feeling, and it is your duty to oversee, to manage all of it, not just are they cleaning, are they putting this where it is, are they doing this. No, it's like the same way you're making sure they don't have a beard that looks like a crazy person, and you tell them, hey, go shave. The same way you should be aware, hey, are you okay? Like I think that you're a little bit, distance or whatever it is, or you're drinking a little bit too much, or whatever that may be. It's like you took the responsibility to step into that what do you call it, role, right? Then walk the talk. Like you're making the money, then you have to be responsible in your duties. And yes, it means getting out of your comfortable zone and becoming that leader and becoming that space holder. And if you're not willing to, then maybe you shouldn't be on those roles. Sorry, that's just
it. And you know what? I can understand people don't expect that from heads of departments with land-based roles. I can understand that.
Yeah, but
people
there's a human resource.
Yeah,
there's somebody else. But in yachting, we haven't understand that concept that we need that. So especially on smaller boats, 45 meters, 50 meters, even 60 meters, even bigger boats sometimes, they don't even have HR. And, they have the, what do you call it, DPA or whatever, the designated person ashore, which for the most part is bullshit. It's not really a HR person anyway. So it is your duty, inside the boat, okay, like you said, a system. There is a system for your duties. There should also be a system for how to maintain the mental health of your team, period. Like I'm pretty sure all the heads of the department can gather together and figure it out, like it's not that difficult to make sure people are okay and then lead them to another person if they need help. I mean, seriously, it's not that complicated, but you have to be willing to go where others are not willing to go. That's really what being a pioneer is, and we need more of those in the industry.
Yeah, and it's stepping out of your comfort zone for both the party with anxiety and the party with that it has noticed the difference. It's stepping out of your comfort zone. It's being aware, and it's even small things. Anxiety can sometimes stem from maybe something that has been said to you. When I have unfortunately been. Fortunately and unfortunately, had I not experienced it, then I wouldn't have learned. But I've been on yacht programs where the belief system was that the more I break you down, the better I can build you into what the program needs. Sad but true. And what they forgot to do in the system, and yes, it taught me very vital skills. Like it was a very, very intense program, but in the process of building up, they had completely stripped the crew of their identity. It was, everybody had to conform to, and I don't know if there are other programs out there like that. I haven't experienced it since my first time of experiencing it, but there are HODs out there that don't build their crew back up. They will shout, and you've done this wrong, and this is shit, and this is not the first time you've done this, and you're consistently doing this, but they're not telling them, okay, so you've done it wrong like this. Let me explain to you why we do it that way, because maybe if you understand why we're doing it, you'll be able to achieve the job better. But people are consistently breaking them down, and that causes anxiety because you're so afraid of letting someone else down again, getting in trouble. But it's also the way that things are approached. And that was a huge cause of my anxiety I'm being told how shit I am, and I'm being told how wrong I'm doing, what wrong I'm doing, but I'm not being told why it's wrong. I'm not being told why it's being done like that, so I can understand it more clearly. And that was it's a very simple thing, you know, it's a very simple thing, but just in you consistently putting out a negative thing, instead of being like, let me rectify what you're doing wrong, it causes great anxiety, because it's just a constant fear of, I'm going to be in trouble. Oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. And oh my,
Yeah, you're in survival mode all the time. So obviously you're going to be in anxiety, because you're like constantly looking at the future. Am I going to be told this? Am I going to be that? So you cannot be fully present in your work performance.
Exactly. And junior crew suffer from that majority of the time, because of course they're still learning. They're not expected to know everything off the bat. But they feel like that. I've had multiple junior crew on board boats that have expressed to me, in general, that they consistently feel that they're just not good enough, that there's so many things that they're doing wrong. And that's because they haven't been told, you know what, well done for getting that right. Well done for doing this. And like, you did a really good job today, even though you may have made a little boo-boo, you're on the right track. And if they're not on the right track, you need to be doing something, because this is the start of that anxiety tumbleweed. Like, if they're consistently feeling like that for months, if not years on end, it becomes embedded in you. It becomes part of you. It becomes literally, it is part of who I am now, you know? And I've had it for forever, but it's part of me, and I don't know what it feels like not to have that. I just know how to manage it. And if I could help one person not have it become part of them consistently, and like be able to manage it straight off the bat, then that's success in itself, you know?
So
and if we can all do that, can you imagine?
Yes, I agree. Yeah. How can people find you if they would like to have help from you?
Well, they can reach out to me on Instagram. They can pop me an email. All my details are in my bio on my Instagram handle, just on the link below. So they're more than welcome. Even if they just want to find out that what they're thinking is normal, what they're feeling is normal. Like, they can ask for advice. I've literally tried and tested every single thing, every self-help book out there. And some work and some don't work. You know, it's kind of what fits into your lifestyle, what you're comfortable with, but you literally have to try. You have to do something about it.
Awesome. So if you want to reach Chanel, there's the links down below. You can also find her in yachtsmermaids.com/support. She's part of that support directory, so it's easy. You go click on her name, and all the information to find her is there. Her email, her phone, everything, her website, everything's there. Social media, everything. So thank you, Chanel, for being raw and vulnerable and expressing and sharing your struggles and how you actually manage, and what we can do to start moving forward in a different direction. And from insanity to harmony. Thank you for being the change that we really need in the industry, and leading by example. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap it up?
No, absolutely not. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I truly hope that at least one person out there that's listening to this will have that strength. They'll find that strength and be like, yes, this is my time to be strong for me, because it's all about you.
And a reminder, be strong for you, and also be strong for others. Like, if you're a head of department, and even if you're not, like, if you see somebody struggling, reach out to them. Hey, like, I'm here for you. If you don't want to talk to me, let's find somebody that can. Like, just somebody, so they can know they're not alone. Because a lot of the times we feel alone, and we feel that we can't, that we're not even entitled to have support. So, yeah.
But it literally takes one kind word, one helping hand. Just reached out to someone at the right time, to the right person. You don't know, no one has any idea how life-changing that could be. And I think once they understand how life-changing a simple, kind gesture like that could be for someone, I think everyone would start doing it, because it's really important. But Marien, thank you so much for this opportunity.
You're welcome.
I'm really grateful.
Well, guys, this is our kind gesture to you, so you know what's available, and we're here for you. Reach out, and everything is on the video, the below the video, all the links that you need. And, just share the video, share the information. The more people know, the better. We need to make this available for people. This is not taboo. This is something that we all really need to understand and talk about. This is just fucking life, like whoever have says they haven't felt anxiety, I call bullshit on it. So you may not know, like Chanel said, but you definitely had it. I believe me, I'm pretty sure. Okay, well, that's a wrap. Thank you, Chanel, and until next time.